It's Friday, and you know what that means. Talking Politics coming to you from the Hudson Media Group studio here. And of course, I'll continue to be the generational talent in Garden State Media, as I'm the hero you need right now, folks. As we all know, the establishment media continues to lie to you every single week, but guess who won't? That's right. It's me, Fernando Uribe. Hope you're having a great start to the month of October, as it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I'll tell you how you can make a difference in helping defeat breast cancer a little bit later in the program. But of course, as always, there's a lot to discuss, so let's get started. Here's what I'm thinking about right now. Now, folks, obviously, if you subscribe to NJ.com, which I don't, so I get a free subscription because I like freebies, right? Like anybody else. But if you care to read some of the editorials lately, obviously, you know it is election season. Of course, NJ.com spares no expense or effort when it says to, covering for a certain political party in New Jersey. Let's just say they identify as blue, and I'll leave it at that. But folks, an interesting editorial this week by NJ.com, obviously, by Brenda Flanagan, in conjunction with NJ Spotlight News, tends to do some reporting about NJ hospitals will be now halting gender-affirming care for youth under the age of 19. Now, just as a context here, obviously the story was shared as a part of a content sharing agreement that exists between Mosaic.nj.com along with NJ Spotlight News. Now, it's being reported that families who depend on gender-affirming healthcare for kids under the age of 19 in New Jersey say they are shocked after some healthcare providers put treatments like hormone therapy and puberty blockers on hold. Now, the healthcare systems say they reacted to warnings that the Trump administration would cut off federal money if such gender-affirming treatments continued. Now, it's an escalation in the president's battle against so-called wokeness. It's not so-called, but again, you can always depend on NJ Spotlight News and NJ.com to sort of minimize the severity of what is the toxicity that we know as wokeness, folks. But let me continue. Trump told a joint session of Congress back in March, quote, "I also signed an order to cut all taxpayer funding to any institution that engages in the sexual mutilation of our youth. And now I want Congress to pass a bill permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes on children and forever ending the lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body." The result? Question mark. Now, RWJ Barnabas Health has stopped accepting new pediatric patients for gender-affirming care, according to NJ Spotlight News. Now, a statement from RWJ Barnabas Health reads in part, quote, "Gender-affirming care, including surgical treatment, will be limited to patients who are 19 years of age or older. Current patients receiving hormone therapy or blockers may continue to do so pending further updates from the federal government. Our physicians and care teams are working directly with patients and families to provide resources and support as needed." So, for example, Virtua Medical Group is no longer offering gender-affirming medical care, including puberty blockers and hormone therapy to any patients under the age of 19. In the statement, the hospital group said, quote, "We recognize that this change in healthcare is disruptive for many youth and families. To this end, we continue to offer a full range of supportive services such as mental health care. But for many parents of trans and non-binary kids, that's not enough. Quote, there's fear in the community. And I think at the heart of this is we're just parents who want what every parent wants, which is that their children are able to be themselves, to be confident, and to be happy." Well, more on that later. Said Jane Buchanan, whose teenage son started gender-affirming care 4 years ago. She says they felt secure in New Jersey, where her child received excellent support from healthcare providers. She joined 540 parents of trans kids who reached out to the provider. Now, Atlantic Health System, in a July letter asking whether it planned to change its gender-affirming care policies, also went on to say in the note as well that equal rights for trans youth are protected by New Jersey's Constitution, its law against discrimination, and by Governor Murphy's executive order number 326. Advocates will lobby legislators to codify that executive order into state law. We'll find out, obviously, with less than 30 days to go in the upcoming gubernatorial election, really what the next governor of New Jersey will end up doing. Now, 7 families sent a letter to New Jersey Attorney General Matt Platkin asking him to intervene with Atlantic Health System. The Office of the Attorney General would not comment on the family's request, but referred to a February statement where Platkin promised to defend gender-affirming care. Now, Atlantic Health System did not reply to NJ Spotlight News' request for comment, neither did Hackensack Meridian Health. Focus on teens is important, says Sam Holovax, who transitioned at the age of 20. Jesus Christ. He explained why puberty blockers, for example, are so important to younger teens with gender identity questions. Well, folks, I think you get the gist of it. But I have to say, I applaud the Trump administration for not coalescing to this madness. Now, folks, listen. If you want to believe you're in the wrong body, before you're 18, I mean, you might be suffering from a mental illness. It's that simple. But if you think you're in the wrong body at the age of 8, guess what? Your parents have a mental illness. And that's the truth, folks. And I think this is where the rubber meets the road when it comes to all this woke bullshit. Now, I'm the only journalist in independent media here in New Jersey that's talking about these issues. And it's interesting that NJ Spotlight News will report on this because, as we all know, establishment media in the Garden State and its confidence with the public has been eroding. Now, you're probably wondering, well, Fernando, how can that be? NJPBS and NJ Spotlight News have been respected institutions. Well, I'll tell you how. When you employ propagandists who masquerade as journalists, for example, Uncle Dave, David Cruz, Slim himself, right? Well, sooner or later, people are going to get tired of all the woke bullshit. Because never once, when parents are being minimized and parental rights have been targeted in New Jersey, never once does Uncle Dave and all the MILFs that work at NJ Spotlight News ever do a story on that. Now, mind you, I love watching NJ Spotlight News. Okay? There's no shortage of nice-looking MILFs at NJ Spotlight News. You got, I believe you have Joanna Gagas, Brianna Vannozzi, Raven Santana. Like, these are nice-looking MILFs, folks. So trust me, I'm not complaining about the eye candy. And occasionally, David Cruz will be on the air. And, of course, as you all know, the buzzkill that is David Cruz. But it's interesting on what hill you want to die on. And that's what NJ.com, and that's what NJPBS and NJ Spotlight News seems to be embodying. Now, of course, many of them and their staff and advocates about a free press in New Jersey are all up in arms about what the federal government did, right? About what the President of the United States and the Republican-controlled U.S. Senate and the Republican-controlled House of Representatives did to, public broadcasting by cutting funding to NJPBS and NPR. Well, folks, sooner or later, Trump derangement syndrome catches up to you. Sooner or later, when you are this, I don't even know what the right word is. I mean, I want to say the right word, but obviously this is a family program. But this level of delusions and derangements is what makes the public lose confidence in the establishment media. Okay? Never mind the fact that in the recent state budget, which again, a little history lesson for everybody, a little civics lesson, under the New Jersey State Constitution, the state Senate and the state assembly have to ratify a budget, which subsequently has to be signed by the governor by no later than 11:59 p.m. on June 30th every year. And if it's not, then subsequently at 12:01 a.m., the state can shut down. Now, we've seen that a couple of times in at least my adult life. We saw that in 2006 with Governor John Corzine. We saw it in 2017 with Governor Chris Christie. Now, in the 8 years of Phil Murphy, they've cut it really close. And there's been the risk of a state shutdown. But it hasn't happened, but you get the picture. But in this last budget for the fiscal year coming up, guess who cut $75 million from NJPBS and NJ Spotlight News? It wasn't Republicans in Trenton, folks, because remember, Republicans for over 20 years have never even sniffed a majority in the legislature. It's been Democrats who have run the legislature for the last quarter century. And for the last 8 years, we've had a Democrat governor. But somehow, David Cruz and the rest of the establishment media in New Jersey will cry and they'll menstruate and they'll bitch and moan about, oh my God, the evils of Republicans and how they infringe upon the free press. That's bullshit. We all know it's bullshit because here in New Jersey, that doesn't apply. So when David Cruz is doing, either Reporters Roundtable or Chat Box, and at the end he's like, oh, scan the QR code to make sure you support media. No, I get it. That's like Uncle Dave, right? And like Tiny Tim and the Christmas Carol asking for more. Okay? It's like the little orphan Oliver saying, sir, may I have some more? Like that's what he looks like. And it's sad because at some point, David Cruz and NJ Spotlight News, along with NJPBS and NJ.com, have to look in the mirror. There's a reason why the Star Ledger went out of print. Because people don't trust it. When you're fixated on woke bullshit and social justice buffoonery, people are just going to say, F this. Is this helping to pay my property taxes? Is this helping to see if the gas tax will go down? Which, by the way, folks, after its last phase kicked in January of this year, it's at 49 cents a gallon. So even though the cost of gasoline has gone down, thankfully, due to domestic drilling, once again, courtesy of the Trump administration, effective January 20th of this year when he took office for a second term, We still have the fourth highest gas tax in the country. Right in California, New York, and Pennsylvania. Somehow the gas tax is supposed to fix the roads. See what AAA ranks New Jersey roads, folks? In the bottom third in the country for the fourth consecutive year. Or tolls on the Turnpike and Parkway as we're trying to go up and down the state. Maybe go to the shore since it's still unseasonably warm in early October. Maybe, catch those last few days at the beach. Or go see your side chick. Or whatever the case may be. You're traveling up and down the state. Guess what? Just got a little more expensive. But NJ Spotlight News and NJPBS would rather fixate on, mentally ill people, which is what trans people are, folks. There's no way around this. I'm sorry to break it to all the progressives and all the leftists in Hudson County and New Jersey, but that's what it is. And what's even worse is the mental illness of parents who encourage this. Okay? When I was 5, 6, 7 years old, you know what I remember? And I'm an old man, folks, okay? Compared to a lot of you. I distinctly remember in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, elementary school, I remember my parents just let me be a kid. And let me discover who I was naturally. None of this forced woke ideology. It's bullshit. Okay? Yeah, I enjoyed video games, playing Little League Baseball. Actually, I was a pretty good third baseman. Damn it. Sucks I didn't make a career out of it. But the point is that my parents let me be a kid. Like a lot of parents do. Some other parents won't. And somehow think that this is healthy, to encourage this in their kids. And what do we see for the last 4 years under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in that administration? Acquiescing to this ridiculous demographic. Well, in the words of the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, that shit's over. Thank the Lord. So it's astonishing to me that NJ Spotlight News and NJPBS and NJ.com will continue peddling this narrative. No one cares, folks. In a state with the highest property taxes in the country. Okay? These are the issues that matter during this upcoming election season, during election day. Now, vote by mail has already begun, and early voting will begin a little before Halloween. And of course, you can vote in person on November 4th. But folks, the issues that matter to everyday New Jerseyans isn't this. Okay? I'm tired. I'm almost at nausea already about this, why there's this need in Trenton by legislators and activists to acquiesce to the alphabet mob every single day. My God, it's so exhausting. So when people start thinking about, hey, why did Democrats in Trenton start to defund NJPBS and NJ Media? Well, folks, look no further than their agenda. Now, I get it, Uncle Dave and the rest of the establishment media. Take your pick, folks. You know Chucky, Charles Style with the Bergen record. Okay. You have the incessant pothead Matt Friedman, who's like in his late 50s, still smoking weed like he's back in college. I mean, that's embarrassing, folks. Okay. Or the clowns at Insider NJ that still, again, perpetuate this Trump derangement syndrome and think that that's going to get them traffic and get them views and get them ratings. They didn't get that memo last November. And almost a year later, they're still in the same bullshit. Folks, NJ Spotlight News is no different. So when we read about NJ Spotlight News or NJPBS going out of business in July of 2026, again, to everyone over there at NJPBS, NJ.com, and also NJ Spotlight News, you have yourselves to blame. Talk about the issues that matter to everyday New Jerseyans. You know, the meat and potato issues, the kitchen table issues, affordability, overdevelopment, public safety, crime. These are the issues that matter, not coddling mentally ill people. Now, again, you can continue with the bullshit all you want. But folks, for the adults like yours truly, I'll be talking about the issues that matter. And the reason that independent media like mine continues to thrive and establishment media is dying, well, folks, the difference couldn't be any clearer. I'm talking about the issues that matter to regular people. I'm talking about issues that matter to you. Now, all the people I just named, I mean, listen, they're dinosaurs in this business. And guess what? The meteor's coming. Whether it's Fernando Uribe or other forms of independent media, yeah, folks, we're going to clean up because you trust us and you stop trusting them. They haven't gotten that memo. The fact is, they never will. And that's what I'm thinking about right now. Now some local news, and once again, thank you to fellow Rutgers alumnus, a member of the Pinnacle, and the editor of the Hudson County View, John Hines, for his reporting on this story. Now, Leonard Filipowski's federal lawsuit against State Senator Brian Stack among others, was dismissed last week, while his case in Hudson County Superior Court has had 2 defendants dismissed, and now they're seeking legal fees. Quote, according to U.S. District Court Judge Susan Wigginton, in a September 25th decision, she wrote, plaintiff filed this action on March 5th, 2025, naming as defendants Mayor and State Senator Brian Stack in his individual and official capacities, State Senator Paul Sarlo out of Bergen County, former Governor Jim McGreevey, the City of Union City, the City of Jersey City, the New Jersey State Police, and John Does 1-99, the complaint pleads count for First Amendment free speech, free exercise, retaliation, conspiracy, and Monell liability, as well as state tort claims. Now, 3 sets of motions to dismiss followed. Number 1, the New Jersey Attorney General, on behalf of the NJSP and State Senators Stack and Sarlo, respectively, filed a motion asserting 11th Amendment immunity, legislative immunity, and failure to state a claim. Number 2, Jersey City moved to dismiss on grounds including lack of state action and failure to plead Monell liability. And 3, Union City and Mayor Stack, in his municipal capacity, moved to dismiss based on abstention, qualified immunity, and failure to state a claim. Plaintiff filed no opposition. Now, if you all remember, folks, in March, Filipowski filed a 7-count lawsuit alleging First Amendment violations for being removed from a Jersey City church and a New Jersey State Senate Committee hearing in January and February, as first reported by the Hudson County View. Now, the first event brought into question in the court filing was when Governor Phil Murphy traveled to Jersey City to endorse Jim McGreevey, a former governor, for Jersey City mayor at the Monumental Baptist Church on January 26th, earlier this year. Now, Filipowski was removed from the church by Jersey City police officers prior to the start of the event. The other is from February 20th and a state Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, which Stack is the chair of, pointed out that Sarlo asked him to stick to the bill, and Stack tried to have him removed after he kept alleging corruption in Union City. Quote, even if plaintiff had alleged underlying constitutional violations, which he has not, the individual defendants would be entitled to qualified immunity. The doctrine shields officials unless existing precedent placed a statutory or constitutional question beyond debate. Folks, I think you get the picture here. Now, as you know, I am no fan of Leonard Filipowski, and I will never refer to him by his gimmick name because that's all it is, a gimmick. But isn't it interesting for Leonard Filipowski to take to social media and A, denounce this decision by the U.S. District Court judge, and B, call out his own attorney, Mario Blanche, for supposedly maybe not doing a good enough job as his legal counsel? Well, folks, here's the truth about Leonard Filipowski. This is a professional agitator who's made it a point to go to every public meeting possible and be disruptive and be disrespectful. Now, again, I've said this on social media. I've said it on my other show, Real Talk with Fernando Uribe, which, folks, you can check out every Monday night on Jersey First TV. Of course, check out local listings for start times, where I have denounced consistently this clown. Because, Leonard, no, it doesn't mean that just because you carry a copy of the Constitution around, it doesn't mean that that's your press credential. Like any other profession, there's a governing body that oversees the occupation. Right? Now, I understand you might want to say, well, the First Amendment and the freedom of the press is in the First Amendment. There's a right for you to be an attorney. There's a right for you to be a doctor. These are choices you make and career choices you make. But like any other profession, folks, there has to be a governing body that oversees it. Now, here in New Jersey, we have 2 governing bodies, the NJPA, the New Jersey Press Association, and the New Jersey Society for Professional Journalists. Now, these 2 institutions provide press credentials to members of the media. Now, you can go online and fill out an application and justify and provide documentation as to why you feel you should have press credentials. Now, spoiler alert, I can tell you because I renew my press credentials every year. Now, there are some in establishment media that don't call Fernando Uribe a real journalist. They might call me an asshole. They might call me a podcaster. They might call me an opinionated Cuban propagandist, whatever you want to call it, folks. I mean, I've seen the texts and DMs that list all of the aforementioned, and even worse, some things I can't even say on the air. But here's the reality, folks. Like any other profession and occupation, there's a governing body that oversees it. Somehow that concept is foreign to Leonard Filipowski. He just thinks, well, I can just print up press credentials in my house, make up a random website, purchase a URL, and just print that up, and yes, I can go anywhere I want. No, Leonard, it doesn't work that way. Somehow he refuses to understand that. Now, listen, did the Tony Hector money dry up? Because as we all know, it was reported during the summer, during a recent ELEC report, that former state assembly candidate and landlord, Tony Hector, provided a $10,000 payment to Leonard Filipowski. Now, sources told me that check was never cut. So either Tony Hector's lying on an ELEC report, which sounds pretty serious to me, but that's a topic for another day, or Leonard Filipowski just burned through all the money. Now, what's interesting, folks, is, again, it's been alleged that Leonard Filipowski has somehow accrued more than $50,000 in payments from various donors, whether it be Tony Hector or others. Okay, so can you tell me something? What has Leonard Filipowski done with $50,000? He keeps wearing the same old crusty suit with the same crusty red tie, with the same little tripod. Okay? It only costs you a little over $60 a year, Leonard, to renew your press credentials. Now, Leonard will tell you, oh, no, this is a violation of free speech. Like, I'm a member of the press. The First Amendment tells you exactly about freedom of the press. Yeah, that's true, Leonard. But there needs to be some supervision. And that's why these two organizations, like others, oversee their particular professions. You would think that with all the money you've taken in, right? Because, folks, if you look at social media, I mean, whether it's his Venmo, Cash App, Zelle, I mean, if there isn't a guy begging for money in media, well, wannabe media, I mean, I don't know who it is then. But somehow Leonard will have you believe that he has the right to go anywhere and do anything he wants and say anything he wants and harass people in the public arena and harass public officials who are doing good things for their community, like Mayor and State Senator Brian Stack and former Governor Jim McGreevey. Now, folks, you can have an opinion about what happened 20 years ago with Jim McGreevey, but there's no question that Jim McGreevey has really revamped his life. He found religion, started helping those that have left our institutional system, our correctional system, actually. Has helped people reintegrate into society and be productive citizens. That's to be applauded. But no, Leonard Filipowski would rather go to a church, interrupt the service, would rather go to a commissioner's meeting or a council meeting, and think he can just act like a childish asshole and get his way. No, Leonard, it doesn't work that way. Now, somehow, the same 5-6 people that keep liking his posts on social media should sit them down. Folks, if you're really Leonard Filipowski's friend, do me a favor, sit him down and say, Leonard, you're acting like a child. You need to do better. Okay? You're a grown-ass man in your late 70s, parading around like an adolescent. No one's going to take you seriously. Now, you can go and talk about your traffic on your YouTube or other. That's great. I get it, folks. This is a traffic-oriented business. So, Leonard, hey, if you're getting views and clicks and traffic, good for you. But, folks, it doesn't mean it's good journalism. Okay? Millions of people watch the Kardashians every week, folks. That doesn't mean it's good television. So let's stop here, please. Can we let some common sense maybe prevail here? But that's something that never prevails with Leonard Filipowski, and that's common sense. So good for these lawsuits being dismissed. And let's be honest, folks, you got to feel bad for Mario Blanche. I'm sure he's been working hours upon hours for free, and at some point he wants to get paid. I mean, when you're defending a hack like Leonard Filipowski, you want some sort of compensation. And I get it. Mario Blanche is a great attorney. Okay. And he has done, I think, a great job for a lot of his clients in representing them. But this isn't a case for Mario Blanche. It's for someone else. Unfortunately, Leonard Filipowski has scammed Mario Blanche. And of course, Mario Blanche wants some payment for his efforts. It's not going to get one, especially from a broadcast like Leonard Filipowski. Lastly, folks, it is October. And of course, as you know, I love to celebrate and raise awareness during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So mark on your calendars for Wednesday night, October the 15th at the world-famous Waterside, located on the waterfront at 7800 River Road in North Bergen, for the 2025 edition of A Professor's Quest to Safe Breasts. As you can see the latest flyer there, joining me will be my outstanding hosts, Vladimir Carrero, Sylvia Sapinska, Alexandra Hammer, and Jacqueline Rodriguez. Of course, folks, will be greeting you at the door and also at the raffle tables, as well as the big banner, which contains all of our logos from all the great local businesses that sponsor this year's event. We'll have sangria and wine specials during the evening. Of course, there'll be excellent networking opportunities. And certainly, folks, I can't say enough about my good-looking team and what we'll be doing throughout the night to raise awareness for the American Cancer Society. Now, since 2008, A Professor's Quest to Safe Breasts has raised over $68,000 for the American Cancer Society during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and more specifically, the Making Strides Against Breast Cancer campaign. Now, folks, I've worked, as they say, in the trenches, and I volunteer a lot of my time for the American Cancer Society. I've helped patients and take them to chemo. I've helped patients in certain medical homes and be supportive of them. Folks, it matters. Now, I've been fortunate in my family to have not been affected by breast cancer. I've been very fortunate to say my mom is still alive and well and healthy. So is my aunt, and so is my best friend and all my other female friends who I cherish immensely. But not everyone is lucky. Not everyone is as fortunate. And still every year, tens of thousands of Americans and families are affected by breast cancer, women and men alike. But here's your chance to make a difference. Here's your chance to help raise awareness. And here's your chance not just to meet new people and party for a great cause, but to send a message that we're here to defeat breast cancer. So once again, folks, mark it on your calendars for Wednesday night, October the 15th, starting at 7 p.m. There'll be free valet parking, of course, wine and sangria specials, and certainly, as I mentioned, folks, the Fantastic Five of yours truly, Vladimir Carrero, Sylvia Sapinska, Jacqueline Rodriguez, and Alexandra Hammer will greet you upon arriving. There'll be some goodies there for our public that will be attending, obviously, brought to you by the American Cancer Society. And certainly, folks, I can't say enough, it's your opportunity to, once again, at the door, we're asking for a modest $20 suggested donation. And certainly, of course, folks, during the evening, make sure you bring cash for our raffles. Raffle tickets will start at $2. Once again, the more tickets you buy, the better your chances are to win, as we have great prizes from local establishments, such as Sojo Spa in Edgewater, Rumo Cubana in North Bergen, Blue on the Hudson in Weehawken, Tapas de España in North Bergen, as well as Hand and Stone in Edgewater, as well as, of course, Team 48 Jiu-Jitsu in West New York, among other prizes that will be made available that evening. Folks, again, buy more tickets, better your chances are to win one of our great prizes during Professor's Quest to Save Breasts at Waterside, once again on Wednesday night, October the 15th, starting at 7 p.m. We'll be partying all night long. And folks, together, we can defeat breast cancer once and for all. And that's our show for this week. Once again, folks, I want to thank the Hudson Media Group for their faith in my brand of fearless, independent journalism as they continue to bring you Talking Politics every single week here. Of course, make sure you like the Hudson Media Group on Facebook. Don't forget to follow them on Instagram and X. And of course, subscribe to them on YouTube. And you'll be automatically notified of all the great content that Hudson Media Group brings you every single week, which include every Wednesday with Hudson County View Live, hosted by the great John Hines, Stick It Night, hosted by Hudson County Commissioner Anthony Romano, and of course, all the great young men and women from North Bergen High School, of course, starting with Greta Hernandez here at the studio. Folks, I can't say enough really about the great independent journalism that the Hudson Media Group brings you every single week. I'm privileged to work with great people here, and of course, it starts with its CEO and president, Patrick O'Malia. In addition to that, great production staff here that, folks, trust me, makes my life a lot easier. And trust me, it looks, if you think it looks easy, it isn't, but they make my job a hell of a lot smoother, and I'm always grateful to them. Always remember, folks, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's Talking Politics right here with the Hudson Media Group. Yes, I am the generational talent in Garden State Media, and I'll continue to be the sworn enemy of all the social justice clowns, the woke fools, all the obese feminists, smelly cat ladies, and of course, all the climate hysterics here in Hudson County and throughout New Jersey. That's right, it's me, Fernando Uribe, saying so long, folks. Enjoy the rest of your week. Once again, happy October. Mark on your calendars, folks. Hopefully, I'll see you all on Wednesday night, October the 15th at Waterside for a Professor's Quest to Save Breasts to benefit the American Cancer Society. Don't forget to please drive safely, folks. Kids want to get to and from school safely. Make sure you accommodate that. And of course, look after your elderly neighbors. Folks, happy October to all you all. And I appreciate you tuning in here to Talking Politics with the Hudson Media Group. As always, thank you so much for watching.